Hello everybody, Tajri the Guy 3 here. Pokemon Universe Fanfic Series, Episode 25, A Chemical Clash, A Toxic Battle. So last time, basically, Professor Doku, in combination with his powerful Pokemon and the fact that Trent's Pokemon start off in a status condition of being poisoned, the combination of all of this pretty much led to Trent being defeated in the last episode. So, with that being said, Trent is basically just stunned by the fact that he lost. He's really just trying to figure out how to cope with it because this is a gym battle. And this is the first gym battle where he actually lost. So Trent and Luna are trying to basically just, help him deal with the fact that he did lose the gym battle. And when he does lose, Ein comes in, and Ein is basically, he's upset that Trent lost. Like, he's upset for him because, they did meet up before in episode 24. But he is kind of praising Professor Doku for his battling style and the way he handles his Pokemon and how powerful they are. He's inadvertently praising Professor Doku at a wrong time, though, because Trent's still upset by the fact that he lost. So Luna kind of like bonks him in the head and is like, hey, you're not helping. And he's like, oh, sorry. And then he goes, why don't we all take the Pokemon back to the Pokemon Center to at least get them healed? And then, we can talk about how you can try to handle this situation. So when they all head back, they also go to eat lunch. When they head back to go eat lunch, Ein basically thinks of this idea where Trent can actually go to an area known as the training simulator, where they can battle off against various Pokemon trainer simulation battles. And during this, they can, make their Pokemon stronger. Luna thinks that this is a really good idea. Trent is a bit upset at first at this whole situation, so he doesn't really, know what to think about it. And then all of the Pokemon are upset as well. Clauncher is, hitting the ground with his pincer because he's angry. Pikachu's upset. Noctowl isn't saying much of anything. He's just really quiet and he's, keeping to himself. And Eevee is trying to snuggle up to Trent, but it's not working. So she gets upset as well. So Luna realizes that the Pokemon are just as upset as Trent. She even makes this suggestion that they go to another town and challenge that, and Trent can challenge that gym leader. And then they'll come back and fight Professor Doku later. But after that, Trent decides to shake it off and take a stand. And he says that if he turns back now and leaves, then he'll feel more ashamed. And his Pokemon will feel ashamed as well, too. And the Pokemon stand behind Trent on this one. So they all in unison pretty much agree that they're not leaving Zeon City until they defeat Professor Doku. Koda and Luna state that they'll be there the whole time as well, too, to support him. Ein respects Trent's spirit and courage, but he feels like Trent is being stubborn like all the other trainers who've lost to Professor Doku once before, but there's something different about Trent. There's like a fire of determination in Trent's eyes where he wants to win this battle no matter what, and he'll do whatever it takes. So Trent takes up that offer to go to the training simulator, so they all head to the training simulation area. And it's basically just how trainers get stronger, because a lot of trainers who fought Professor Doku before are actually here as well too, to get themselves prepared for fighting off against Professor Doku. And when they do this, they fight off against a bunch of simulation trainers. And they keep doing this for a while. While they're training though, Ein decides to go back to the Pokemon research facility area, basically the same spot where the gym is. And Koda decides to go with him. And the reason being is because Koda learned that the area also has a exhibit that holds Pokemon, kind of like where most scientific labs have Pokemon or animals that have been born in a lab or born in a simulated environment that's artificial, not quite the same as the real environment, but it's to test and see how animals will react in that area. Same for Pokemon. So there's various kind of like botanical garden areas. Well, they have that specifically set up for Pokemon. So Koda decides that he wants to take pictures there to check that out. Ein decides to bring him in as well. And Ein, when he gets there, is cluttered with work. Like, there's a bunch of lead scientists giving him paperwork and all these things that he needs to do. Basically, he's a chore monkey. And Ein is getting cluttered in all this work. And when Koda asks to where the restroom is, he confuses him for another one of the scientists that are calling for a request, and he snaps and is like, I can't take any more jobs. Koda is startled by this, but then Ein realizes he made a mistake and apologizes. He just is upset that he doesn't want to be an intern anymore. He's actually been an intern at this area for several years. He should have been a scientist in training under Professor Doku's studies for a long time. He just hasn't promoted yet, and the reason he hasn't promoted yet is because he has to make a written request in order to get the promotion from Professor Doku. He's just been really afraid to do it. One, he's been afraid to take the next step up, and two, he just doesn't stand up for himself. Koda tells him about how Luna and Trent inspired him to go out and take pictures of Pokemon to become a Pokemon photographer. He says that at first he was way too afraid to leave his town because he just didn't think he could last really long traveling on his own. But Trent and Luna gave him the courage necessary in order to get out there and start traveling. So Koda's pretty much giving Ein a pep talk in order to get out there and, you know, follow his dreams. Thus stop being cooped up in here. Ein takes his words into consideration. Also, Ein has an Elgin, by the way. I should have mentioned that in episode 24, but he has a Pokemon. It's Elgin. Yeah, I know it's a weird Pokemon, but I think it fits him, and I think it fits the science theme that I'm going with. So I decided to give him an Elgin. So Elgin will be around Ein a lot of times, just floating around, being cute. You know, it's a companion Pokemon, just something that helps him cope. So he takes Koda's words into account and goes off in order to do his jobs, while Koda, you know, heads off in order to meet up with Trent and Luna for dinner, because it's later on that night now. Meanwhile, we cut back to Trent and Luna, and they've been training off of various simulation trainer battles. And Luna gets tired and states that she's headed back to the Pokemon Center to get dinner and go to sleep. When Trent is asked, does he want to come with, he doesn't respond. He just keeps, you know, training with his Pokemon. And Luna states that his Pokemon have to be getting tired, but the Pokemon, on the contrary, are actually continuing to fight as well. They are just as determined as Trent is to find a legitimate strategy in order to fight Professor Doku. So Luna basically just leaves him alone to have at it. When Trent hears that Luna is going to get something to eat, something pops in Trent's head and states that, oh, eat is a good idea. But he's not going out to eat. He means like the word eat gave him an idea of how he's going to handle this gym battle, or at least something, a strategy to help him handle the gym battle. So he does have some form of a strategy, and they continue training. The next day comes about, and Koda and Luna wake up, and they head downstairs, and they see that Trent and his Pokemon are already eating breakfast. They're already getting ready for the gym battle. So they stayed up late, came in really fast, and then slept for a little bit, and then they started eating breakfast, and now they're going to request for a battle from Professor Doku. They already made the call, too, so the battle is already scheduled. When they show up to the gym office building area, they head back, and they see Ein again. And when Luna and Koda head off to the spectator area, they see Ein, and Ein is there because he wants to see if Trent's resolve is correct. If he wants to see, will Trent be different than the other trainers who lost to Professor Doku before? He wants to see if Trent's resolve, works. So Professor Doku is surprised that Trent came back so early, ready to have another fight. But, the status conditions are set. The gym starts up. Trent's Pokemon are effectively poisoned before the fight starts again, just like last time. And the battle begins. Trent versus Professor Doku, round 2. Professor Doku starts off with Nidorino, just like he did last time. And Trent starts off with Eevee. And when Trent starts off with Eevee, instead of it happening like last time, what Trent decides to do the minute the fight starts, he has Eevee use Refresh, the move Refresh. Yes, Eevee can learn Refresh. He taught Eevee Refresh so that it can cure itself of its poison stat element. So it's a good move. Professor Doku is impressed, but he states that, he's still at a disadvantage because Nidorino can use Double Kick. When that happens though, Trent effectively has Eevee dodge with Quick Attack, and in simultation to that, he also has Eevee use Baby Doll Eyes. to lower Nidorino's attack, and he has Eevee use Baby Doll Eyes progressively through the fight the whole time. Eevee does unfortunately end up getting hit with Poison Sting and ends up getting poisoned again, but this time Trent ends up having Eevee return. So Eevee gets returned back to her Pokeball, and Trent ends up using the next Pokemon, which is Noctowl. So Trent wants to get straight to it. Trent has the aerial advantage yet again, but Nidorino does the exact same thing it did last time, where it uses double kick in order to get some height so that it can attack. Trent allows Noctowl to get hit by the horn attack this time, and the reason for that being is because the horn attack doesn't do nearly as much damage as it did the last time it hit Noctowl. The reason being is because Trent had Eevee use Baby Doll Eyes throughout the fight. So Nidorino's attack power has slowly been going down that entire first half of that fight. So now Horn Attack doesn't do much damage. And the problem now is that even though Nidorino did a direct hit, it didn't do that much damage, and Noctowl's really close to Nidorino now. And the problem with this is that, for Nidorino at least, is that Trent now can use Hypnosis. And since it's got a direct shot, the Hypnosis can hit Nidorino without fail. Nidorino is now asleep, and thus Trent can use Confusion on Nidorino. He uses Confusion on Nidorino and tosses Nidorino around pretty much the entire match, throws him down and finishes him off with Air Cutter, effectively defeating Nidorino. So Trent ends up winning against Nidorino, and he still has all his Pokemon this time because he fought more effectively than he did in the first fight. He was able to use a combination of Eevee and Noctowl's skills together in order to defeat Nidorino. Now, Noctowl does still take some damage from poison because all Pokemon are poisoned in this gym battle. Obviously, the next Pokemon is Professor Doku's ace and his strongest Pokemon, Swalot. Noctowl goes in and uses Confusion on Swalot. However, Swalot ends up countering with Venoshock and even counters again with the Sludge attack. Noctowl continues to fight using Air Cutter. Unfortunately, it's not doing as much damage as it would have on the other Pokemon, so Noctowl ends up getting defeated. Its Hypnosis gets countered by Sludge, and yeah, it ends up getting knocked out, but it was able to do some legitimate damage to Swalot. So then after that, Trent uses his next Pokemon. He brings out Eevee again, and Professor Doku does not want Eevee to use Refresh this time, so they end up attacking Eevee before he gets the chance to do this. They end up using Venoshock on Eevee, but before the Venoshock can hit, Trent pretty much does the same strategy he did when he fought off against Flo. They even reference that he did the strategy against Flo, where instead of using Swift towards the opponent, he uses Swift so that the stars surround Eevee, so that it can counter the Venoshock attack, so that Eevee doesn't get hit by Venoshock. And when Eevee's caught up in the smoke of all of this, Eevee uses Refresh during the cooldown of all of that, so that it can cure itself from the poison. Afterwards, Eevee ends up getting in close with Quick Attack. Unfortunately, Swalot blocks it off with the Stockpile attack. But then once they get in close range, Trent has Eevee use Swift Attack. Again, another combo that he used against Flo, where the Quick Attack is just supposed to make contact so that the Swift can come in and attack from the sides. This unfortunately isn't enough to defeat Professor Doku and Swalot. They end up using Spit Up. It's got more than enough power to knock Eevee out, and that pretty much ends Eevee. So Trent goes into his next Pokemon, Clauncher. Clauncher lasts a pretty decent time, and this is where Trent takes what Luna said yesterday night into effect. Swalot ends up using Stockpile, but before it can successfully use the Stockpile, Trent has Clauncher use Bubble Beam inside of Swalot's mouth. He's trying to attack Swalot from the inside out. And Professor Doku commends Trent for this strategy, however it doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because for any other Pokemon that knows Stockpile, this actually would have been a legitimate good strategy. Unfortunately, Swalot's a bit different. It can consume things way larger than itself, so the Bubble Beam is nothing more than a mere snack for it. It eats things up like that for breakfast. So, disappointed that doesn't work, Trent tries to use a different strategy. Trent then has Clauncher use Water Gun, and he does this so it can dodge the Venoshock attack. So he's about to use Venoshock, and Trent has Clauncher use Water Gun on the wall behind him. He uses the propulsion from the Water Gun to shoot Clauncher forward towards Swalot so that it can dodge the Venoshock attack. And in addition to this, he also has Clauncher use Crab Hammer. So the speed of Clauncher getting boosted towards Swalot, in addition to the Crab Hammer, should make the Crab Hammer do a lot of damage, right? Well, wrong. Swalot ends up using Stockpile again to block the Crab Hammer attack, so it does very little damage. Yeah, Swalot's super defensive. This is where the scientists start to praise Professor Doku, and they explain why Professor Doku is powerful not just because of the poison stat element condition, but also the Pokemon that he has on his team. Nidorino is a very offensive Pokemon. Its attack stat is really high, and he uses Fury attacks and Poison Stings and various other attacks to pressure the opponent. He's using an offensive strategy. But when he switches to Swalot, his whole battle dynamic changes and he becomes more defensive. Swalot hasn't moved from that one spot since the battle has started, because Swalot's a very bulky Pokemon, wearing the opponent down until the poison takes effect. Professor Doku has his offenses covered, his defenses covered, and that makes him an unstoppable force. Well, at least to the scientists. Everybody else believes that Trent can win. Ein is looking at the fight and is questioning whether he can or can't. Because Clauncher got in close but didn't do enough damage, Swalot decides to finish it off using Spit Up. So he launches the Spit Up. But before Clauncher completely gets defeated, Trent has Clauncher use Water Gun on the ground in the direction that Clauncher was being launched back. Clauncher unfortunately ends up hitting the wall and ends up fainting, and he's knocked out. So now it's down to Trent's last Pokemon, Pikachu. So Pikachu goes in for the fight. Pikachu, like the other Pokemon, start off poison. Swalot ends up trying to attack it with Sludge. Pikachu counters with Thunder Shock. And then Trent has the idea to paralyze it. Trent uses Thunder Wave. Now, at first, the Thunder Wave wouldn't work in the original gym battle that they had, the first gym battle that they had, because it got blocked by Sludge. This time, the Thunder Wave does work, and the reason it works is because Trent has Pikachu use Thunder Wave on the ground. Now, normally this would do nothing, but remember in the last fight, Clauncher used Water Gun twice. Once to propel itself towards Swalot, and the second time after it got hit by Swalot's Spit Up coming back. Well, those two directions that it went, water trailed from the front to the back of the stadium and from the back to the front, vice versa. So there's a trail of water leading to Swalot and to where Pikachu currently is. Pikachu uses the Thunder Wave, and the electricity travels across the water, since water conducts electricity, and makes it to Swalot, thus successfully paralyzing it. And this is where Trent makes the comment, "Now you battle under a stat condition." Because Swalot is poison, it is effectively slower and can't keep up with Pikachu. However, it's still bulky. The thing's still defensively set up. And at this point, Professor Doku uses Stockpile twice. He even tries to go in for a third Stockpile. At this point, normally the Spit Up would be enough to take it out. When he goes for the Stockpile the third time, though, Trent has Pikachu use Quick Attack and jump into Swalot's mouth. Yeah, this is a very risky thing to do, but Trent decides to put all his cards on the table and try to attack Swalot from the inside out. Because it's paralyzed, he couldn't really stop Pikachu either because it was slowed down. So when he's inside Swalot, he uses Thunder Shock. And at this point, instead of a Thunder Shock, it gets stronger and becomes a Thunderbolt. So at this point, it's a much stronger attack. And Swalot's getting hit from Thunderbolt from the inside out. So it does way more damage. And because of that, Swalot faints. And since Swalot faints, Ash wins and effectively gets his third badge. So now he has the third badge, the Venom badge. Professor Doku congratulates Trent on his victory. And everybody is basically like happy for him that he won. After this, however, when they're about to head out, Ein sees that Trent's resolve won. Trent stood upon his word and said that he'd keep fighting until he wins. And he sees that actually worked. Trent actually stood by his word, and that gives Ein some courage. So as they're about to leave, Ein stops Professor Doku as they're leaving out of the gym. And he finally makes the request in order to be a scientist in training under Professor Doku. He makes the request in front of him, though, instead of in writing. And Professor Doku actually congratulates Ein for having the courage to finally step up and say that he wants to do that, because he always knew that Ein was a great scientist. He always knew he was dedicated to Pokemon science. And Ein also stated that when he does become a scientist in training, one of the things that he wants to major in is the study of Pokemon Mega Evolution. Trent, Luna, and Coda have no idea what this is, but Ein tells them it's just a way to make Pokemon stronger than they already are in their final forms. They don't think much of it right now. They just know that that's what Ein wants to do, so they think it's interesting that he wants to do it. But he states that he wants to study in Pokemon Mega Evolution. Professor Doku finally does give him the promotion, and all of the other scientists apologize for the way they've been treating him, and they give him big props on, stepping up and getting that promotion and getting somewhere. And then Ein thanks Trent, Luna, and Coda for, giving him the courage in order to finally make his dreams come true. After that, and he also gets a Pecha Berry from Professor Doku so that Pikachu can cure itself from the poison. After that, though, they do tell them where the next location of the gym is. Ein tells them that there is a gym in Tosho Town, so that's where they're headed. And Trent wants to head to Tosho Town so he can get his 4th gym badge. He runs off ahead, and normally they would tell Trent to slow down, but he's so hyped up on the fact that he won. And Professor Doku even congratulates him because he states that he learned a lot from their last battle. It's clear that he got much stronger, and it's clear that he took the defeat and learned from it rather than let it affect him. So Trent's feeling very good about himself. His Pokemon are actually really happy, and they all run off. Luna and Coda try to catch up to them, and the episode basically ends there. So, the episode. I had a lot of fun writing this little, I guess you can say arc? Sort of an arc. Yeah, of him losing to Professor Doku, training, getting stronger, coming back, taking the win, learning from his mistakes. I tried my best to use legitimate strategies in the battle. It's a very detailed battle, but I wanted everything to have a justification for why it happened, or at least happen in a reasonable standpoint. I had a lot of fun, just writing these 2 episodes. Ein's name, little trivia, Ein's name is a reference to Einstein. So it's like a science, because science. He's a scientist. Einstein's a scientist. Ein is his name. It's spelled E-I-E-N. Ein. Ein is the first part of the Einstein. But yeah, him and Elgin are now, Ein is now studying and training with Professor Doku. He's officially a scientist in training. And yeah, it's fun to have just a recurring character. I like character development, so I wanted to increase his character along with his interaction with Trent, Luna, and Coda. It's just a fun thing in order to implement towards the plot. And, we got character growth, not just for Trent, but for Ein as well. And, his Pokemon got stronger too in this gym battle. So, yeah, it's just a fun thing that I wanted to do. It's a fun way to make a gym battle happen. Trent finally has the Venom badge, so we make his badge count at 3 at this point. And he's headed off to Tosho Town, which is the location of the 4th gym battle. What did you like about the episode? What didn't you like about the episode? I'm taking all criticisms. I think this was a fun 2 episodes to write, 24 and 25. Afterwards, though, we head into the next episode. That will be episode 26. And we'll actually be following Kaz again. So Kaz gets another one of his own episodes. Yeah, and this episode is titled episode 26, Big Mouth Tyrant, the Fossil Graveyard. So, yeah, that'll be a fun episode to talk about because it won't be focused on Trent, Luna, and Coda. I think we need to take a break from them for a while and focus on Trent's rival. So, with that being said, I'll see you all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3 out.